Hey guys, Nick Taylor here with Menajerie Studio, and today we are going to look at an inexpensive but effective way to turn any lens you have into a killer macro lens. Let's check it out. So as you've probably noticed, we are shooting in a different location, and this is actually my home office. This video was shot actually during the COVID-19 shutdown, so we've been working from home for a while, hence the making breakfast in our kitchen B-roll that we opted for to test out this equipment. What you're able to do with a macro lens is get those very detailed, sharp shots of water droplets on a piece of food or the elaborate detail and texture. That whole sequence was actually shot using the Sony a7 III, which is a full frame sensor. We're going to do this video using our Sony a6500. The advantage to using a crop sensor like the a6500 is that you're going to get that additional advantage of the crop factor. So it's going to give you that much more zoom. So typically, macro lenses are pretty expensive to buy on their own, and they have a pretty specific purpose. Part of the inspiration for wanting to get these shots is actually some videos done by Daniel Schiffer. He's done a lot of amazing B-roll style videos, specifically of food. And one of the lenses that he tried out was this probe lens. Now that lens has lights on it, so you can shoot in very dark spaces, and you'll see why it's important to have enough light when you're shooting with these macro lenses, because especially when you get those very close focusing distances, the lens itself is blocking a lot of light. And we'll see how that happens with our particular setup today. Talking about our setup today, we are using our Sony a6500 with the Tamron 28 to 75 millimeter. This is probably my favorite lens we've ever owned. It's just so versatile, it's fast, it's an f2.8 constant aperture, and it's pretty affordable when you're considering getting f2.8 through the entire zoom range. So the piece of equipment that is going to turn any lens you have into a macro lens is actually a relatively simple piece of equipment, and that's called an extension tube. We got this one here from a company called Voking. So in the box, you get these two metal rings, and you'll also notice that they have the pins in there so you maintain autofocus and aperture control. We have a Sony camera, so we got the E-mount version, and all they are really are just pieces of metal. There's no lens in there, and it just changes the focusing distance of your lenses, and it also gives you more zoom. So we'll see how this actually works using our handy dandy ruler. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to show you the minimum focusing distance with the 28 to 75 millimeter with no extension tubes attached. And what I'm going to do is get the end of the ruler pretty much up against the glass. And the minimum focusing distance is somewhere around 2¼ inches or so. At 28 millimeters, this thing has a pretty decent minimum focus distance. Now let's take a look at the minimum focusing distance at 75 millimeters. Okay, so at 75 millimeters, the minimum focusing distance is right at about 9 inches. The next thing we're gonna do is put the 10 millimeter extension tube on and then shoot at 28 millimeters. So at 28 millimeters with the 10 millimeter extension tube, the image has of course been enlarged, and now the minimum focusing distance is somewhere around 3/4 inch. So quite a big jump. So the next thing we're gonna do is look at 75 millimeters with the 10 millimeter extension tube. And now the focusing distance is just over 5 inches. So again, a drastic difference in the minimum focusing distance and the overall framing. Okay, next up we'll check out just the 16 millimeter extension tube, and we'll start at 28 millimeters again. And our focusing distance has now been reduced to about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so once again, we will shoot at 75 millimeters, same thing. with the 16mm extension tube. We're even more magnified, and we're at about 4¼ inches. And finally, we are going to stack the 10 and 16mm extension tubes together and see the different focusing distances that we get, starting with 28mm. We're looking at a minimum focusing distance of about 1/8 of an inch. This ruler is touching up against the glass of the lens. And then finally, 75mm with both of the extension tubes attached. So now we're looking at a minimum focusing distance at 75mm of just over 3 inches. It's about 3¼ inches. Okay, so the final test that we're going to do is show you a split screen of some of the different combinations, and we're going to use the Voking logo here as our subject. So when you're looking at this split screen, you should be able to see all the different combinations and the different framings that you're able to achieve, and the magnification really that you're able to achieve with these different combinations. All of these are going to be shot at the minimum focusing distance possible for all these configurations. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. It really helps our channel out. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to be notified anytime we put out a new gear review or tutorial video. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.